Hello and welcome to BusyWorksBeats.com. I need you guys to smash that like button for the enthusiasm to increase and for the fun to increase. All right, guys, so today we're going to show you how to make a hip hop beat. Even if you're an absolute beginner, this video is for you. I understand how people make stuff frustrating. They skip steps. It's frustrating. So no worries here. Today I'm going to guide you step by step. Now, the bad part of this tutorial, I guess, is that you can't follow exactly step by step because everybody's source material will be different. The good news is that you guys actually get to hunt down and feel what it feels to be like a hip hop producer. The first step in making hip hop beats, as far as sample beats, is finding the samples. And that is literally the funnest part of being a producer, I'd say, finding new sounds that are just dope. So what I'd highly recommend you guys is look up Beat Butcher drum breaks. They have the best hip hop drum breaks on the market, in my opinion. Okay, so you want to look up drum breaks specifically. So to be geeky real quick, hip hop was defined as mixing two different songs together. Those two different songs were usually one with drum heavy stuff and then one with music heavy stuff. So you combine the music with the drums from a different record. That's what hip hop was defined as. So we're going to go back to the definition and the root of hip hop. So we're going to look for drum breaks, they're called. You're going to find it very frustrating if you're downloading Metro Boomin drum kits trying to get a boom bap sound. You know, trap drums are not the same as hip hop drums. So long story or shorter is look for Beat Butcher's drum breaks, okay? And once we have drum breaks or something similar to drum breaks, I'm going to show you guys a technique that applies to all drum breaks. Doesn't matter where you get them from. Firstly, let's drag the drum break into the playlist. I recommend you guys sample in the playlist because it's more visual. Okay, NFL. First step, what we're going to do is double click and then we're going to go to mode, stretch mode on the sample. This will make sure that when I do the next step, it will actually lock into the tempo. Next, let's grab this time knob. I learned this from In The Mix, shout out to him. And then left click and drag it until it locks into the grid. So as you guys can see, it's moving around the grid. Okay, it locks to the grid once we get to a bar. All right, so now if I hit play, let me turn this down a little bit. If you don't see this little button here, it's because you need to update your FL. Or go to the playlist options, go to view, and then go to where it says show gain scale, I think is the one. Okay. Okay, so now let's left click. So now it's just a looping drum break. Now, good sound designers make sure they loop their stuff most of the time. Okay, so now you may just think, okay, copy and paste, drum break, find sample, copy and paste. But that's not actually what I'm going to teach you guys today. I'm actually going to show you a more advanced technique. So this is what, you know, producers like Kanye can do. Producers like any top-notch producer who samples can do it this way. So firstly, what we'll do, we'll take this sample, we'll hit Control B. Let's grab what's called the slice tool, which is this icon on that toolbar up top in the playlist. Let's change our snap to grid to like a half beat or a beat. And what I'd recommend is you slice at the snare drum or slice at the very ending of something. Okay, so there's no hard rules for this. My technique is slice at the snare drum or slice at the very end of something. I'll show you guys why. So let's say we want to change the vibe. Instead of just instead of the same thing over and over again. You know, this is the big thing people ask, like, how do I make loop sound more original? Here's how. Okay, so let's slice at the snare, but let's do it on the second snare. So it's 1 snare, 2 snare. Okay, so I'm gonna chop right here at the snare. Now this snare starts a little bit earlier, so just hitting shift and left clicking, we'll do a vertical slice, but we'll have leftover information of the sound beforehand, so it'll create a weird click. So to avoid that, let's hit Alt, Shift, so we can do micro nudges, and then we're gonna slice just before that snare. And now we're gonna slice, hit Shift, left click to slice after the snare. So why is this important? We can now grab what's called the slip tool in the toolbar, and I can left click and drag this to any other sample that's in the drum break. So we're actually producing like a DJ would. Let's hear what it sounds like. Okay, so there I have like a kick instead of a snare. And we could do this all throughout the drum break. So I'm just gonna make these little micro chops. Okay, just to show you guys my philosophy. Let's left click, drag this around. And then let's change the ending here, left click and just drag using that slip tool. Okay, so now we have a unique drum pattern. If we wanted more uniqueness, we could copy this, hit control, left click to highlight with the pencil tool, hit Control B to latch paste. If you guys don't slice to the grid, it's imperative that you hit control, highlight, hit shift, okay, left click and drag. Very important that you do it that way because you want to preserve what's called the time of the sample. Anyhow, this is perfectly chopped, so we don't have to worry about that. So let's hit Control B to latch paste. Okay. Nextly, let's go in and let's swap out. Let's make some more changes. So let's say instead of the downbeat kick, let's swap this out using that slip tool. Let's add maybe let's do just a hi-hat. This is also great for R&B, by the way. So I'm just moving some stuff around here. Okay, so now the drums feel like this long performance. So now I have 8 bars instead of just, 2 bars of a drum. I now have 8 bars of unique drum breaks. So that's a technique you guys can really start to master. Because I used to avoid drum breaks because I was like, they're just pre-made drums. What's the fun of it? Until I understood that, you know, you could do stuff like that or even chop out samples from the drum break, but they're layered, which is different than one shots. I don't want to get geeky on beginners here, but that's the difference here. Nextly, let's go to our browser here, which is this button here. Let's go to all. Let's find some samples. Now, again, the fun of finding samples is that you guys can find your own samples. I'll recommend some websites. The first one's called samplet.io, sampletте.io, samplet.io. Very good for finding samples. It basically pulls up a YouTube play, like it goes to YouTube and it figures out samples from different time periods. There's filters, there's a lot of cool stuff. You guys, in order to download those, you have to get, you know, the converter apps or whatever to grab it. Okay, another website is called hiphopisred.com. So let's use some of their stuff. Hip Hop is Red has a really nice collection from samples from 2020, 2022. Okay, so let's go through these. Now, these are all the top records that are on the Billboard. And let's just click in here and just choose something. Okay, so we're listening for the music of a sample. Perfect. Okay, we got lucky here. So let's just left click and drag that. It's nothing to change. Nothing to change. It's absolutely perfect. First thing about the sample that we're going to do is get rid of this silence in the beginning. MP3s come with the silence. I'll show you guys how to rid that. Grab the slip tool, hit Alt on your keyboard, and left click and drag until that silence is gone. Okay, now next step, we're going to go to this pencil tool and just turn down the volume. Now, one thing is we need to turn off our drums. We're not measuring the metronome. We're not measuring our drums right now. We're just counting music. And here's one of the skills you have to develop as a sample-based producer is how to count music. So the downbeat and also understanding when music actually starts. So it goes ring, ding. Okay, so the beat really doesn't start at that specific point. Let's hit Alt, left click, and drag it to where it actually starts. So it's dun, dun. Let's count the music. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 2, 2, 3, 4, and slice. Okay, so what I mean by that, if I turn the metronome on, every time the metronome makes a noise, that's called a beat, like a heartbeat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4. So notice every time the metronome hits, I'm counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 2. I got twisted up, but you know what I'm saying. So every time the metronome hits, we count. That's called a beat. Okay, and we count to 4 beats, and we call that a bar. So every time I count to 4, I reset the next number. So I say 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's why I keep changing the number in the beginning because I'm actually counting the bar. So bars consist of 4 beats is my point. So every time the metronome hits, it's 1 beat, like a heartbeat. And a collection of beats is a bar. So what we're going to do is listen to this music and listen to its natural timing without our metronome. Okay, so it's 1, 2, and here's my technique. I grab the slice tool. I listen as I go, and I hit Shift Alt so I could do a vertical slice. Shift Alt so I could do a vertical slice as I'm listening. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and here's another way to count. If your sample's a little bit harder, is say and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 2 and 2. It's easier to count the in-betweens. Okay, here we go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 2 and 2 and 3 and 4 and slice 2 and 3 and 4 and 2 and 2 and 3 and 4 and slice 2 and 3 and 4 and 2 and 2 and 3 and 4 and slice 2 and 3 and 4 and 2 and 2 and 3 and 4 and slice. Okay, as you guys hear, it's not a perfect metronome when people are playing with the band. So that's why we count the music, not listen to our metronome in the project. Okay, now that we have how many slices? I think 4. No, 1, 2, yeah, 4. We need to make these separate files because by default, FL Studio still, even though we chop this up, it still considers each one of these part of the same sample. We need to actually save these as new files on our computer. To do that, click in the top left, go to Make Unique as Sample, and do that for each chop here. So click that little icon in the top left. It's very small, but in the very top left, go to Make Unique as Sample and do that for each one. So I learned this next step from Infinite. Shout out to Infinite. What we want to do here is, let's say I move this down. If I zoom in, this is actually not snapped to the grid. So a shortcut to do this, to snap it to the grid, is Shift Q. Shout out to Infinite for that shortcut. Saves so much time. Okay, so if it's off the grid like this, hit Shift Q, it will lock it to the nearest measurement. Let's change our snap to grid to 1 bar, so it locks to the bar. Highlight this, Shift Q. Okay, so now we have stuff arranged. Okay, I don't know why I said it that way. Deranged. Okay, let's double click on the sample. Let's go to mode. Actually, I'm going to show you guys a shortcut. Let's say you have multiple samples like this and you want to time stretch all of them. Instead of double clicking, go on to mode, go to stretch mode, and doing the time thing, what we'll do is go to tools, macros, go to switch all audio clips to stretch mode. So that saves us time basically. So now if I double click in each sample, they're going to be set to stretch mode and I don't have to do it manually for each sample. I still need to stretch the time though. Let's double click on each sample and move the time knob to lock it to the nearest grid. Now I have to ask myself, does the sample feel slow or fast? Okay, it feels normal. Okay, so if it feels too fast, like if I have it down here, then that's too fast. I need to double the length of the sample here. Now I'm at 140 BPM. I should technically be at 70, but I forgot we were at double time. So even though this says 4 bars, we're really only making 2 bars of sound. So even though I counted 2 bars with the music, it's going to show up as 4 bars because we're at double the BPM, which I just simply forgot to change the project BPM. Okay, there's no magic behind that. Double click here. Let's go to sample, go to time knob, drag that to be there. Let's hit Shift Q, double click, stretch mode, time knob, lock it to the grid. This is a nice workflow for you guys. Okay, and lock it to the grid, boom. Now all we need is our drums. Highlight this, hit Control B. Now the sample has bass in it, but if the sample doesn't have bass in it, you guys are gonna have to add your own instrumentation most of the time. But because the sample has all the music, it does not have the drum, so it's a perfect match of it has bass, has instruments, has harmony, has a top line, and we're just combining that with a drum break in this case. How about the islands? I'm feeling Jamaican. Whoa. Okay, so see how the sample, it felt weird for the drums to just like have hi-hats that long. Okay, I know why it sounded weird. It's because I didn't have that drop kick. That sounds weird. So now I'm just gonna go in and edit some of my slip tool decisions. So in this genre, snares are very important. So I'm going to bring some of the snares back. Now you just got to freestyle over the beat. It's feeling very Rick Ross. Now I'll show you guys how to change up one thing here. Let's say you want to make it different than the original. You could double click on the sample and you could pitch it down or up with this pitch knob. The value's in the top left of the FL Studio. Basically, to move it down 1 key, you pull it down 100 cents. To pull it up a key, you pull it up 100 cents. If you want to go up 2 keys or 2 different, scales, 2 keys in this case, we're going to go up 200 cents. So it's in 100-cent increments is how we change the key. So let's say I wanted it darker. Let's pull it down negative 300 cents, which is going to pull this down 3 keys. Now it's going to be super dark. Huh? Nothing like me. I'm cooler than iced tea. let me pull this down for each one. Now the best part about audio is that now we can like manipulate the pitch and it sounds really unique. I could also do the same thing with the drums because this is all technically considered one file. I could double click on the drums and pitch these down as well. So now we're gonna get a sound we don't get from normal one-shot MIDI. It's gonna sound slowed down. Tell me we're not on a foreign island somewhere. Now we could do the Kanye thing, which is okay. Let's say you want to pitch it up and sound like squeaky. Let's pitch it up. Let's do like 500 cents. And we need to do this per sample. Remember that these are now separate files. So now we have to do that. We have to double click on the sample and do this for each sample. Again, to read the value, it's in the top left panel there. Okay, so I'm pulling this up 500 cents. The cool thing is we can up the BPM to make this feel more sped up. So that's the cool thing about pitching stuff up and down. You can really feel like a DJ. Yeah. So let's pull it back down to 140, which is 70. Now if I'm going this slow, I'm going to pull the sample down so it feels like, you know, we're playing it at a slower speed. So it's going to be like, I'm talking like this, and I'm talking like that. So that is how the pitch works with the tempo. So the slower the tempo, usually the lower the pitch, and vice versa. The higher the tempo, usually the higher the tuning. I do. This is the perfect blend right here. There's really nothing else to do on this beat. I'll show you guys like one thing on the master channel. Not that it matters, but let's add a fruity. Let's go to our mixer. Sorry, I'm moving kind of quick. Go to the mixer here, which is this icon. Go to the master channel in this case. We're going to add Fruity Wave Shaper. Now, actually, let me show you guys a good technique before I start getting into all this. We need to separate the sounds in the mixer so that if we ever export these sounds, they will show up as multi-tracks and that it'll be easier to organize. So let me show you guys a good habit. Click on your channel rack here. Switch this to all. Click here, go to all. Double click on this to highlight all these. Hit Control L. What this will do is route everything to the mixer and then auto name it. So now I can individually see each chop. We could do more stuff later, but let's actually do it now. We might as well. Okay, so let's say I want to add an effect to all these different samples. Okay, so I'm going to hit Control in the mixer, which is this button here. Hit Control, left click, highlight all these sample chops. Right click the up arrow on a blank mixer channel. So right click and then route to this track only. So now all the samples are being fed into this one thing where we could add effects to it. So let's rename this and call it sample. So we're digging into more intermediate level here. As a beginner, you don't really need to like know this. It's more for organization for later mixing. And let's add a plugin called Fruity Delay 3. Now you may be like, why would I add delay over a sample? But we're not going to use it in the typical way. Firstly, I just kind of want to see what delay sounds on the sample. That's kind of vibey. That flute is going in. All right, but let's turn the wet level up, turn the dry level all the way down, turn feedback level down, turn delay time all the way down. Now everything else in Fruity Delay becomes a sound effect. So let's add a little wobble, like the RC20 wobble. Let's turn up what's called time modulation. So now it's gonna sound like real high, like that. And we can even mess with the speed here with the rate. So it's more like vibrato. We can even add saturation here with the level for that like tape sound. So that will add more like a tape. Now in the top right here, you'll see sample rate. Now it's very hard to adjust this, so I'm not gonna act like this is easy. But what you guys can do is look in the top left for the value and pull this down to where it's like 40K. Now it maxes out at like 38K, but it's really hard to, you're basically moving this knob and it gets down to, let's say, just 34K, so which is 34,000. So it doesn't look like it moved at all, but we lowered the sample rate about 10K, which will cut off the high frequencies. Let me exaggerate this for you guys. So the lower we go, the more it can't really process high frequencies. And then you blend that with what's called the low pass filter to chop out that ringy noise. But I'll show you guys a better way, because that way is kind of like archaic. This does require to go outside of FL Studio, but this is free. It's called Kilohertz Bit Crush. Just Google kilohertz, like hearts, kilohertz, and look up Essentials Bundle. Okay, it's completely free. Kilohertz Bit Crush. What we'll do is, this is very advanced. Okay, we're gonna right click here and then type in 40K. This is, we're gonna copy the MPC 60 basically. We're gonna right click where it says bits, type in 12-bit, and then we're gonna turn up what's called the D to A quality here. So now we're gonna get the high frequencies chopped off the sample. We can also apply this to our drums, but let's only apply it to the sample for now. Let me take off some of the saturation so you guys can actually. Now, one more thing, I'm going to exaggerate this so you guys could actually hear it. Let's make this 10K so you guys can really hear what this is doing. The lower I go, the more high frequencies get cut out the sample. Oh, I was wondering why. Okay, we need to turn it on. Okay, that matters. Okay, let's do this again. Let's do my fault, y'all. Let's turn that on. Okay, here we go. So listen for the high frequencies. Sounds like we're adding a low pass filter. So this is how you get the lo-fi J Dilla, the, you know, you name it type producer who uses lo-fi. So let's say you wanted to create, like, what's that thing called, the SP404. We're gonna grab the slip tool, or excuse me, the slice tool, and we're going to chop. This time we're gonna chop to the bar because everything is now time stretched. So let's say I want to stutter right here. So I want to slice right here, hit shift, left click, grab that slip tool, change it to probably a beat or a half beat, and then left click. In this case, I'd keep it on a beat. Left click and just drag it. So now it goes do do like that. And we can also do cool stuff like slice it right here. Now I wish FL did this easier, but we can make this unique as a sample. So I sliced at the end here using the slice tool, shift. I move kind of quick. Shift, left click to slice. Grab the pencil tool, double click in the top left here, go to make unique as sample. And now we can double click and reverse just that part. I wish it was easier to do that in FL Studio, but that's just how. So listen for this part. You really can't tell that it's backwards, but it's backwards. Okay, so that's how you can add little reverse things here and there, chops, glitches, so that it feels like it's not just playing all the way through. Okay, so let's just add some more chops in here. Okay, just to show you guys how to do it, let's grab that slip tool. And now I'm looking at my chops here. Oops, grabbed the wrong part there. Okay, so now we're really just arranging using that slip tool. Okay, so that's how people get that like stop go effect. Okay, so now I can kind of copy the slices of the drum. Like wherever the drum switches up, I could add a switch up for the sample so that they match the kind of vibe, like the switch up vibe. So I don't even need to hear it. I'm just looking for pointy audio. Let's grab that slip tool. So this is how you guys can really become unique instead of just dragging and dropping a sample. It doesn't mean that you don't, or excuse me, it doesn't mean you need to do this for every sample though. Sometimes you can just drag and drop a sample. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay, so now let's make a couple more edits here. So again, I'm just slicing and using that slip tool to change up the audio so that it just plays something different. Show you guys one more secret for the sample here. Let's add another plugin. I know I'm moving kind of quick. Let's go to the mixer, find that sample group. Let's add Fruity Stereo Enhancer. Now this is cool for a lot of samples. I'm just gonna show you guys this because this is like the Dr. Dre sound. We're panning a sound from the left to the right using an envelope. Let's turn up what's called the phase offset and then mess with the inversion here. So it adds a certain lo-fi aspect to the beat. So I'm gonna move a little bit quicker here. Let's process the drums to hit a little bit harder. Let's go to our mixer, go to the drums. Let's add Fruity Wave Shaper. I'm debating if I wanna do this on the master channel or let's do it on the master channel actually. Okay, so find your mixer, which is this. Go to your master channel in this case where all the sounds combine. Add a Fruity Wave Shaper, click this gear icon. We're gonna turn everything, the oversampling on 4x in high quality mode. We're gonna mess with this curvature just a little bit. We're gonna push this curvature up. Left click and just drag up. It just should make the beat sound more full. Let me make sure I'm actually on the right wave shaper here. Let's do this again. All right, so that was the other wave shaper. All right, so now I'm increasing the level of the entire track. I'll exaggerate so you guys can hear it. But now if you push it too hard, it starts to crunch and it sounds bad. Okay, so the key is to set it to where it's like barely on. Let's add Fruity Soft Clipper. So as you guys can even hear my voice, I sound more pronounced. You can pull it to the left side, the threshold knob, depending on the tone you guys want, but I keep mine on the right side.
Keep mine on the right side. Lil Wayne.
Let me stop. All right. So now the track feels bigger. Let's take off the stereo enhancer. Now I'm going to show you some Jedi level stuff. Let's say you want a particular part of the sample to feel wide. So like, let's say you want this part to like spread left and right. What we need to do is solo the chop. Just hit Control, left click, and then go to the top left. Make this unique as a sample. And I'm going to blow you guys' minds. Pause. Double click. Go to the pre-computed effects and mess with what's called stereo delay. This is basically the Fruity Stereo Enhancer inside of the sampler. And what it will do for only this sample is widen it out. So listen, it goes like, and then it widens out. So that's a very unique technique you guys can add to your production. So I'm going to do that. I'm just going to listen to where I want it to have that wide effect, and I'll just go in and just. And it doesn't need to be the same exact stereo delay value. So again, I'm making each one of these unique, messing with the stereo delay. You guys can hear it right here. It goes and it widens up. It's just ear candy. so now we have a really unique performance that you can't just drag and drop to get the same sound. Now I'm going to show you guys a really super level, high level thing. We're going to go to Fruity Delay 3, and this is where it's going to get weird. Okay, so you weren't expecting this, but I'm going to drop the gem here. We're going to turn off tempo sync, and we're actually going to mess with the delay time in real time. Right click, and you could link to a controller if you guys use MIDI controllers. I'm just going to right click up here where the record button says, and then make sure it has automation turned on. So now when I hit record and I move this knob over time, you guys will hear it record the MIDI information in real time. Let's hit record, and now I will move this as if I had a real unit in my house turning a knob. So I'm turning the knob as we listen back. Okay, so tape plugins who? Okay, so now you can basically add this super retro pitch wobble throughout the track. And now now that we've recorded it, we don't have to move the knob, it's already recorded. Okay, so now you guys got the gems. Let's add a little of the bit crush to the drums here. We're just gonna click the drop down, go to save preset as, drag it over top of the drum. Now we're not gonna have it as low pass of a filter. Let's pull the sample rate up. We're just gonna type in 40K here. So this is emulating the MPC 60. Let's run it through Fruity Wave Shaper. I know I'm moving kind of quick here, but this is like arbitrary. Let's turn the oversampling mode on 4X. Turn the level up, and then turn the preamp up. It's gonna make the drums hit a little bit harder. Let's add Fruity Soft Clipper. And now whenever I'm turning the pre up, I'm turning the post level down. Of the Fruity Wave Shaper. So now we're getting a little more crunch out of the kick. Also, click on your drums and try this out. Click the View Extra Volume Stereo Properties, and let's go to the bottom here where it has this little knob. We're going to pull this to the right just to see what it sounds like in mono. So now the drums aren't stereo. It doesn't mean they're going to be better or worse. It's just the style. Now I'll show you guys one more advanced tip. Go to your mixer. We're going to open up Fruity Reverb 2. And we're going to make this sound retro by pulling the stereo separation of the reverb to the right, which is mono. So it's going to sound very linear and centered. And then we're going to turn up the wet level here. We're going to cut out the lows and cut out a lot of the highs here. I need to solo the sample so you guys can hear it. Let's hit Alt right click on the group so that we can hear the group sound. It's really hard to hear with the bit crush that low, so let's open that. I'll exaggerate this, but here's just the effect. See how it feels like we're in a chamber somewhere? As opposed to normal reverb that's normally like this, which is not bad, it just feels very reverby. Pull it to the center. And now let's mix in the dry level. A lot of retro stuff had reverb on it. So let's turn all these effects off. Here's where we started. Actually, it's not even where we started because we even added effects to the audio, but here's where we, in the middle ground. like just the sample alone could be a bop because of all the little chops we did. Now let's add these effects. So let's say we want to arrange this. I know I'm giving y'all tips on tips on tips. Let's hit control. Let's highlight this entire thing. Hit control B to latch paste. So let's say we want to separate this first part from the second part. We can go to our mixer now, turn on the bit crusher effect, and right click the mix level, create an automation clip. I'm going to drag this to the left side, snap to grid, keep this on 1 bar. I'm going to turn it off, which is 0% in the beginning, and then right click to turn it on 100% on the second half. So that low pass kind of Drake filter sound will only occur on the second half and not the first half. So that will create a difference in the tonality of the sample itself. So listen for the difference here. Okay, so see how it went underwater? So we could do that for, you know, an entire section. Let's open up the drums. All right, let's make this sample feel a little more modern. Let's add parametric EQ2. Let's boost up to 60 hertz to make that bass feel more rounded out. And then let's make the bandwidth very small and just boost right at 60 hertz. All right, now you guys just made your first sample beat. So take those principles. I really took you guys from beginner to a pro using some stuff that I don't even teach the average folks. But we got inspired by this beat, so I just wanted to put you guys up on game and show you how you could use these simple tools to create a really advanced, unique sound instead of just dragging and dropping the samples in. All right, so if you want to learn more, go to busyworksbeats.com/premium. We have over 68 music production courses from music theory to sampling to beat making to mixing, mastering, and online business as well. I'll see you guys there. Go to busyworksbeats.com/premium. Subscribe if you're new and smash that like button because that was fun. Peace out, guys.